front wishbone bush replacement in a Kia Sportage. This is a 2005 model, so it's 04 to 2010. This is a four-wheel drive diesel, and this is the part we will be replacing right here. So that bush is worn out. We'll be taking that out. What's involved in that will be the ball joint. We will want to remove two of those, one on either side. The rear bush bolt, which is just there, and the front one here. So we need to remove all of them, get that out on the bench. And this is the new bushing that will be going into it. So the rear bush, the nut on the inside is a 17mm. Remove that. The two bottom lower ball joint bolts are also 17mm. I have them removed. And then this one is 22, the front bush. So I just wanted a quick update on this, because on my one here, this was seized. So the bolt was seized in the nut, and this is like a casing. So what was actually happening was the bolt and nut was spinning around together and wasn't coming down at all. This is just a biscuit tin that I used as a protection for the pipe that's behind it. I used my small 3.5-inch cut-off tool, so this grinding tool here. I used that. I went in there and cut straight down the middle of the bolt, and that will separate the nut in half, and I was able to back it out from there. I'll take out the complete wishbone now, because all I have to do is drop that bolt, and I will go about either replacing that bolt or putting a new nut, whatever it takes to re-secure it. I'll have to take this casing off and so on. But if that happens to you and it's jammed in there, you have oxyacetylene that might free it out, but in my case this whole thing was spinning, so it couldn't, and I needed something different. So cutting it in half allowed the bolt to be able to back away from the nut itself when it's separated. The wishbone is now removed. I have it set up in the vise here, and as you can see, that is completely worn out. And right there is the heavy amount of corrosion that's inbuilt in that. But the next step will be to mark this up, line it up, and then take it out. Always a good idea to mark the old bush before you remove it. That way you know exactly which way it's to be pressed in again, so you can see where the layout will be, and mark beyond it and down past it, so when you're pushing it out, even if some of it gets rubbed off, you will still have the marks to line up. One other side note on this is when you're doing these jobs, and like that bolt where it was spinning with the nut, it isn't that uncommon on older vehicles that this happens. It's just something that you have to overcome, and when you're working on these, it is expected at times that you will come across this. So do everything you can to try and avoid it. Lubricate. If it's in an area that you can heat where the nut will spin easier, do that. If not, you may have to do the same route that I went. But next is removing this. I am going to be using probably an air chisel to knock this out. I'll show you my setup after that. Okay, that is the final lineup, mark for mark, before I start to take out the old one. So I'm going to remove that now, and this is the tool I'll be using here. So you have air chisel, and then there is all these different tips that I will be using to punch it out. So with the bush popped out, I'm going to probably use the air hacksaw and just cut a slice on that to make that easier to pop out. So that is the bushing removed. I made a small cut with this tool here, which is an air hacksaw, that allowed me to get in with the air chisel, and I switched tips to this type, and I was able to start to move it. Once you start to move it, it becomes a lot easier, and then it peels back on itself. Always, if you are using an air chisel, angle it out the way as much as you can. If you're angling it in, you will damage the surface that the bushing will be sliding through. I then clean this up and it's ready for grease and then push in. I am probably going to get an old bearing case, sit it over it and try and push it in using the vise here. That is the plan. If that doesn't work, I'll bring it over to the press and just press it in, but sometimes it can be easier using the vise. So the setup I'm going to use is this old bearing shell, which will sit over it like that. I'm going to put it into the vise like this and try and press it in. So I'll show you when I have it set up. So as the vise was too difficult to set up and I didn't want to press even, I brought it over to the bearing press instead. I have a pipe here sitting right down straight on top of it. These metal pieces, these metal blocks straight underneath. Had the mark lined up there so I know it's correct, and it's just about pushing in now. And as you can see there, it's going in nice and even. I have the bearing now pressed in, but I just wanted to show you that these are special steel plates basically for pressing in bushes. So you have the gap at the bottom that allows it to push out through. You need something like that so you can push it all the way through and not get stuck, or else have another bearing shell on the base of it so it can move through until it's level. Now this is the bushing fitted, pressed in and all ready to go back into the vehicle. So what I have here is I found what I needed to put this back up again, and I'll go over and show you. I cleaned up this side as well, just a little bit more to do in there, so I had to take off the cap. I had to grind off the cap and leave it flat, and it's all ready to go back now. That's why I never throw out any old nuts and bolts that I do have, or any new ones that come with packaging that I don't need. I'll always keep them. I have big containers, call it the lucky bag, because a lot of the time you can get lucky and save yourself a lot of grief. If you are doing a lot of jobs, highly recommend that you keep old nuts and bolts and clips and all of that, so that if you run into trouble, you can get out of it on the same day. So FitPack is extremely straightforward. You just do it in the reverse order and make sure you tighten up all of the nuts and bolts that you've removed. And this job is now complete. I just need to put on the wheel and it's all done. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please like, share, comment and subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.